We might as well do the pledge. Yeah. We're gonna stand and do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
This meeting tonight's been brought to you by Big Red Nabisco.
But anyway, tonight is a special meeting. We're going to suspend the part of someone that's in here that has something that's not on the agenda, and there's not too many people here, so we're going to turn it over to our attorney and let him speak on behalf of why we're here.
So this is a notice of special meeting for Thursday, November 30th, 2023 at 5 p.m. under Indiana Code 36-2-2-8. We posted the notice and sent notice to the news media that had requested copies prior to January 1st of 2023. Because it is a special meeting and it is a Board of Commissioners meeting, the statute requires that we provide notice of what we intend to discuss. The stated purpose of the meeting is to approve the use of ARPA funds for a qualified use and to approve the purchase of certain real estate by Scott County government by resolution of the county executive. That was posted with at least 48 hours advance notice. So I think first what we have is a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana approving government service investments through the American Rescue Plan Act. The Board of Commissioners, I'm just going to read the resolution. The Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana has been tasked by the County Council of Scott County, Indiana with implementing programs and funds from the American Rescue Plan Act pursuant to guidance and rules of the United States Treasury. The board is the executive and legislative body of Scott County, Indiana, here and after the county. ARPA section 603C1 provides that funds may be used for the following purposes: to respond to the public health emergency or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. To respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers. And C, for the provision of government services to the extent of their reduction in revenue due to the COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year prior to the emergency, and to make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. You'll remember that in the final rule, that subsection C, if your allotment from the Treasury was less than $10 million, we did not have to go through the formal steps of demonstrating adverse economic impact by looking at the fiscal year prior and doing comparisons and look at revenue drops. We were able to take the entire amount, which the Board of Commissioners previously did as loss recovery under that section that deals with the provision of government services. So whereas the City of Scottsburg, Indiana, the city is the owner of certain real estate with the commonly known address of 2 East McLean Avenue, Scottsburg, Indiana 47170, and further described as parcel numbers 72, it just has the parcel numbers on there. The property is currently utilized by the city as its city hall. The board, on behalf of the county, intends to purchase the property from the city in order to use the property for county government offices and to convert the existing city hall into a county government center. The project is a necessary investment in the county and a permissible use of ARPA funds pursuant to the rules and guidance of the United States Treasury. The project constitutes government services within the meaning of the guidance of the United States Treasury, including but not limited to the final rule, which published by the United States Treasury and made effective as of April 1st of 2022, the final rule which broadly defines government services as including the use of ARPA funds for the cost of pay-go infrastructure. Whereas the board has agreed to allocate $600,000 in ARPA funds for the project, which is the purchase price for the property. Now be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, that the board hereby finds and determines that the project constitutes the provision of government services in the form of pay-go infrastructure as contemplated and permitted under the final rule, The board hereby approves the allocation disbursement of $600,000 in ARPA funds to pay for the cost of purchasing the property from the city. And the president of the board or the auditor of Scott County, Indiana are hereby authorized and directed to finalize and execute any documents, take any action as may be necessary or appropriate in furtherance of this resolution. This resolution is effective immediately upon passage. Today is the adopted date. So that is the issue or the items on the agenda for today. Basically, the first item, whether or not to approve the use of ARPA funds for the specified purchase.
Questions? Comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve the use of ARPA money for the purchase of set real estate, so being, I guess, City Hall, Scottsburg City Hall.
I'll make the motion, use $600,000 of
And
ARPA money.
I'd ask just, if you would, I realize it's a resolution, I'm not necessarily sure that this is exactly the situation would apply, but I'd ask you just to, vote to pass it on 2 readings in a single meeting.
Okay. So we'll add that to the motion that we pass it on 2 readings. So Randy's made a motion, to pass it on 2 readings tonight. The use of ARPA money in the amount of $600,000, for a purchase of real estate.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so.
Just so, well, I'll discuss that in the next one.
So that technically gave us
That's the
authority
plan.
to use the money now.
That is the planned use. It will be subject to council appropriating that $600,000. They still have that, kind of authority. Let's do 2 originals, do 2 signature pages.
And when is their meeting?
Tonight, in about 10 minutes.
The county council is actually the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Their meeting is
The 12th,
12th.
Tonight?
the 12th.
The 12th.
12.
December. The city, I believe it's Scottsburg City Council is meeting tonight,
Tonight. Okay.
but that is to discuss
Yeah, I was wanting
a
to know.
different resolution.
Right. Yeah, no, I was wanting to know the county.
See, I had a pen. I didn't bring my book. So the next part is,
And, yeah, just so, you know, it's clear, there was a process that was gone through to determine a fair market value for the property. 2 separate independent appraisers, provided values, at 550, 350,000. And, those prices and their, you know, conclusions based on their professional expertise were used to arrive at,
the negotiation.
a number that is higher than one but less than the other.
Yes. Sign one. Yeah, I mean, because this is videotaped, we did have 2 appraisals and also negotiated with the city, so it wasn't just a, here's the price and here's what we're doing, so. So back to you, Zach.
And so this is a resolution separate from the approval of the use of the ARPA funds. This is a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, authorizing the acceptance of the transfer of real property from the city of Scottsburg pursuant to Indiana Code 36-1-11-8. The city of, whereas the city of Scottsburg, the city, or hereinafter the city, is the owner of certain real property located in Scottsburg, Indiana, legally described in the attached Exhibit A. The Indiana Code 36-1-11-8 authorizes the transfer of property between governmental entities upon terms and conditions agreed upon by the entities, as evidenced by the adoption of substantially identical resolution, a substantially identical resolution by each entity. And the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, the county desires to acquire the real estate in order to meet its urgent need for additional space for the operation of the county government and its respective offices. In order to further the growth, economic development, and redevelopment of the city desires to transfer the real estate to the county and to relocate City Hall to the modern and accessible Mid-America Science Park. And the city and the county are both governmental entities authorized to own, acquire, and transfer real estate. Whereas, following the adoption by the county and the city of substantially identical resolutions, as a consideration for the transfer of real estate to the county by quitclaim deed from the city executed by the mayor and attested by the clerk treasurer, the county will pay to the city $600,000. As further consideration for the conveyance of the real property, the county will permit the city to continue to occupy the real estate at no cost until December 31st, 2024, or 365 days from the closing on the real estate, whichever is later. And the city shall be required to provide possession to the county on or before December 31st, 2024, or 365 days from the closing on the real estate, whichever is later. Whereas the county and the city desire to memorialize their agreement materially consistent with the terms of the substantially identical resolutions adopted by both the county and the city in the form of purchase and sales agreement, the purchase agreement, and a post-closing occupancy agreement, the occupancy agreement, upon such terms and conditions customary for real property transactions in the state of Indiana. Following the county and city's adoption of substantially identical resolutions to authorize the transfer and acceptance of real estate from the city to the county is authorized to pay the city the sum of $600,000 as consideration for the conveyance of the real estate by the city to the county by quitclaim deed. Following the city's conveyance of the real estate to the county is authorized to permit the city to continue to occupy the real estate until December 31st, 2024, or 365 days from the closing on the real estate, whichever is later, provided that subsection I, in the event of any damage to the real estate occurring after the conveyance of the real estate to the county and while the city is in its possession, the risk of loss shall be borne by the city until the city vacates the real estate. The city shall maintain insurance coverage on the real estate until the city vacates. And 3, the city shall be required to deliver possession of the real estate to the county on or before December 31st, 2024, or 365 days from the closing on the real estate, whichever is later. At least 10 business days prior to the city's vacation of the real estate, the city shall notify the county auditor of its intent to vacate as to allow the county adequate time to properly insure the real estate. Notwithstanding the foregoing, prior to and following conveyance of the real estate to the county and its officers and designees shall be allowed to enter onto the real estate while the city remains in possession of the real estate for the purpose of conducting or performing any due diligence with respect to the real estate. Any commissioner of the county or the county auditor are hereby authorized to execute any such documents or materials or take any actions as may be necessary or appropriate for the transfer of the real estate to the county, and may approve any and all documents necessary or appropriate to effectuate the transfer of real estate to the county in accordance with this resolution, including without limitation the purchase agreement and the occupancy agreement. This resolution shall be effective from and after adoption by the Board of Commissioners in compliance with Indiana Code 36-4-6-14. So this resolution effectively is the resolution that under the Indiana Code will be substantially identical to a resolution I believe the city will consider tonight. And if it is approved, if this board approves this resolution, then we would move forward with next stage, which is executing a purchase agreement and occupancy agreement for the city.
Okay, questions, comments?
So the council's not gonna meet till the 12th, I don't,
That's correct. But we can go ahead and, we would go ahead and if the board were to pass this from today, we would go ahead and obviously begin any preparations needed and anything needed for the due diligence period. We have, I think the idea is to be hopefully done with everything and have occupancy of that building by December 31st of 2024. For that to happen, we'll need to start taking action after tonight's meeting to go ahead and get those things done and finished as soon as possible. But that would be a council.
council would go ahead and have a special meeting, which,
Uh,
on this.
we could ask them to do that, I mean,
I thought they said that they would.
we could entertain that with them and see if they would have a meeting prior to
I
the 12th
think maybe the
meeting.
problem though is that they have an ordinance for additional appropriation to pass, and it was advertised for that meeting,
That's what I'm thinking.
so
That's what I said.
I would not want to change that. I don't think there's any timeline problem on our side with it remaining on the 12th. I mean, the closing would not happen before the 9th. So really their question is, are you gonna make funds available, basically?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, to pass a resolution to purchase, this said, real estate being
2 readings at a single.
2 readings at a single vote. So,
I like that motion.
Randy makes a motion, to pass a resolution to purchase, Scottsburg City Hall, for the $600,000, Randy, I'm sorry, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so it's passed on 2 readings.
So for this one, we'll also do 2 signed copies, and we'll get resolution numbers.
So what you're saying now is that it would go in front of the council, but the other paperwork with, like, I guess with the attorneys writing a purchase agreement up would continue until
Yep.
the 12th.
But we could go ahead and start that.
That's what I'm
process.
saying, we can
Yeah.
proceed before the 12th. Just on that historical document right there, we can make sure everybody knows we signed with Ben Petty's pen. Here, you might as well start back on this one. Or maybe not. There it is.
Am I supposed to have a different pen for every letter in my name?
I don't know if you give it to somebody. So where are we at now? Is that it?
That is all that we have on the agenda for tonight's meeting, and that's the only thing we can meet, discuss, or take action on, given the nature of the special notice.
Okay, then I'll, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion to adjourn, Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, I'll make that unanimous, so.